Hello and welcome to this snowy February 6th episode of This Week in Kirkland, the official podcast of the City of Kirkland, bringing you timely topics and noteworthy news delivered to you every week. I'm your host, Jim Lopez, one of two deputy city managers here at the city, joined today as always by two members of our podcast team.
Angela Brown.
And David Wolbrecht.
Today we have our special guest, David Lynx.
Hello there.
Executive Director of the Kirkland Arts Center.
That's correct.
There was a time when I would pronounce that as the Kirkland Arts Center.
Oh, your
But not now.
Bostonian accent.
It's gone. Kirkland Arts Center.
Yes.
Welcome, David.
Thank you very much for
Well,
having
we're
me
excited to have you.
here. Thank you.
We have a lot to talk about. A lot of artistic things.
We
and
do.
other things.
And other things.
We got some big events to talk about, too.
We do.
Yeah. But before we get to all that, what are you doing for fun these days?
Well, getting up the street. It snowed this morning.
We're
Yeah.
so impressed.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
quite snowy. Yeah.
You're here.
I'm here.
You're like a half an hour here before me.
That was true. That's true.
That's a story we got to tell.
That's true. Yeah.
So you're clearly not intimidated by the snow.
No. That's after spending 30 years in Yakima.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do it.
It's interesting because I don't equate Yakima with snow.
I don't think that's what it's known for.
It's known for being the Palm Springs.
It is true.
Now, Palm Springs, last I looked, was hot,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, Yakima gets pretty hot.
Hot,
It
Yakima?
gets very hot in
Oh,
Yakima.
okay.
Get up to 113.
Wow.
Whoa.
It's hot.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I melt after about 82.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you kind of run from shady spot to shady
Yeah.
Oh
spot.
my gosh. Wow.
Wow.
And because you were there 30 years?
I was there 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I went there when I was 2. So I was a child prodigy.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So now we know another thing about Yakima is that it has a thriving art community, because if David Lynx is there for 30 years,
It's true.
There you
do
go.
the math.
There you go.
And we're going to talk about that. But first, here's what's going on this week in Kirkland. The Kirkland police officers are stepping up to support each other this week in our community, Angela. Tell us all about that.
Yes, Kirkland police officers are now trained in the Active Bystandership for Law Enforcement program. The acronym is known as ABLE.
Ooh, good acronym.
Yeah, and so corrections officers, police officers, they finished their training in December of 2024. The training promotes intervention to prevent mistakes and misconduct. It's
Kind of
pretty fantastic.
Like with each other. Is
With
that
each
right?
other,
Wow.
yes.
Very good.
Oh, that's really great.
Yeah.
You could say they are able trained.
They are ABLE trained.
Very good.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
Well, they went above and beyond. The community's in need. Now they're back home, David.
Yeah, that's right. We heard from Lieutenant Hernandez a couple weeks ago on the podcast, telling all about the firefighters that were deployed to the California LA wildfires, and they have returned. So they assisted in battling those wildfires during a 14-day deployment. And as we heard from
Yeah, it's a
Lieutenant
lot.
Hernandez, it was like they were on 36-hour shifts or something. I don't know.
Right on the front lines.
So incredible, so amazing. We're so grateful for them stepping up and helping out. And they were part of a Washington statewide mobilization of 55 fire engines. So Washington showed up strong.
Yeah.
We talked about that in a lot of detail with John Hernandez a couple of podcasts ago.
That's right. Yeah,
So
you should check
folks,
it out.
if you haven't heard that, check it out. It's a great one.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And King County actually got a special shout out for amazing work by the crews. They really showed up and were very visibly,
Oh, is that right?
doing amazing work by the strike team leaders.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Kirkland,
Yeah.
go
Great
for
job,
it.
everybody.
Go Kirkland,
Thank
go
you,
County.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
we did it. We stepped up, of course. Hey, come join the conversation on the city's response to homelessness. This is going to be a couple of meetings, Angela. We're going to have a lot of good discussions about a generational challenge.
That's right. There are a couple of community forums coming up on February 24th and 26th. You'll get to learn and participate in the conversation, city's current response to homelessness, and help inform the city's new homelessness continuum of care action plan.
Yeah, I'll be there. Will you be
You
there?
will? Yeah. Oh, I'll be there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. A
We're
lot
gonna-
of people will
We're
be there.
going to engage in a lot of good conversation.
Yeah,
Get people's insights.
Yep. Yeah. And, just learn and kind of discuss the issue together.
Yeah.
It's
Be
great.
prepared. Hey, if you ever wanted to have a say in how the city of Kirkland is run, have you ever? David?
Quite a few times, actually.
Well, now's your chance.
Want a list? Let's
Yeah,
go
we're
through
going
it.
to give you a chance. We're going to give you another opportunity. Right?
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. So if, like our special guest David, you want to have a bigger say in Kirkland, you can apply by February 14th to serve on an advisory board or commission. So what this means is you can help shape policy, make recommendations to the city council. There's all sorts of open positions, and we're accepting applications now.
A lot of opportunities, David.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Arts Commission.
Art Commission.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
That'd be one of them. Yeah.
Tourism.
Yes.
Another one. A lot of them. Hey, the last meeting of the Kirkland City Council was on Tuesday, February 4th. Here's what happened. On the business agenda, Council received a briefing on the 84th Avenue Northeast bike, walk, roll improvements. That was really interesting.
It was, yeah.
And the Council also received an update on the 2025 legislative agenda.
Yeah, and prior to the business agenda, on the study session, Council discussed the 24-26 Planning Work Program. And that was a joint meeting with the Planning Commission, actually. It was a really great conversation. And that program guides the priorities of the Planning and Building Department over the next 3 years. And also, there was an update on Sustainability Strategic Plan.
Yes, and as always, council meetings are streamed live on the city's YouTube channel, Facebook page, and the city's website. So check it out if you missed that. Hey, a few simple steps can prevent serious injuries at home.
Mm-hmm.
Angela?
Yes, this week is Burn Awareness Week. So
Oh, wow,
it's
yeah.
a pretty high number that around 398,000 people a year seek medical care for burns. And so this week is an opportunity to learn some safety tips. Few of them being keeping flammable items away from heat to prevent burns, setting your water heater below 120 degrees Fahrenheit, monitoring open flames, candles, things like that, making sure those are extinguished before going to bed, leaving the room. Lots of tips that you can learn more from the American Burn Association.
Yeah, I was watching a Netflix show this weekend. It was like a period piece.
Yeah.
They made a lot of use of candles
Whoa.
back in the day.
Yeah.
Big time.
Big time.
Lots of really big historic fires in
Yeah.
those period times.
One could figure out how fire was a real, I mean, it still is, but back then, everywhere you went, you had a candle.
Yep.
Yeah, or like torches on the side of walls.
Yeah. Would not be a good combination for someone like me, for example. I can spill a cup of coffee. I probably could tip over a candle.
Oh.
Wow.
Anyway. All right, we've had some snow and ice with a bit more on the way.
That's right.
And here's what you need to know about winter weather in Kirkland, because we do that too, David. Yeah.
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, you've probably seen them out and about, but our crews, they're working very hard around the clock, pre-treating, monitoring, plowing, and repeating all those steps to keep our streets clear. So they, of course, focus on our priority routes. You can find all that information on our website. You can do your part, though, by keeping the sidewalks clear. A big note about garbage also. If it is delayed, extra waste will be picked up at no charge on your next scheduled day.
And we still have the cool application where you could see the plow trucks, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so all that and more you can find on kirklandwa.gov/snow. And all the latest on road closures, live road cameras, latest information and updates on cancellations of recreation programs, all that and more.
All right there. Do you remember when we did that show?
I do.
I think it was when we announced it.
Yeah. It was over a year and a half ago or something.
It was fun prepping for the show because it looked like a video game.
Yeah. It was,
Cool.
it was like
You see the
Pac-Man.
trucks.
Yeah.
You see the trucks. Listen, it's important information.
Yeah. We should actually talk to them about
we should.
reanimating little like snowflakes that the little plows like chomp down.
Well, I think they
As they
named
go.
the
I think that'd
trucks.
be
Didn't they name the trucks?
we have not named
We
the
have.
trucks.
Oh, we got to text in the text the podcast.
Well, we'll have a little bit more formal process, but if you think we
If
should
you want to
name
get in early,
yeah, if you want to get in early,
you want to
that's
get
right.
in early, because I have some names
Okay.
I would like to suggest.
All right.
So
Yeah.
fun.
Hey, knowing CPR could save a life. Are you ready, Angela?
Well, I'm ready.
Yes.
And also, if you would like to be ready, there are some upcoming classes in February on the 12th and the 22nd. They'll take place at the Kirkland Justice Center. You can learn essential life-saving skills, so CPR, AED, and also first aid. It's a bundled class, takes 3 hours. Register now to secure your spot. You never know when skills like that
These
can
are
come in
really
handy.
popular.
Yes, they are.
I think these classes fill up.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a limit to each class size, and we had 50 people get trained
Wow.
up in January.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's really great.
Amazing.
Our community is the best.
They're the best.
And a reminder, everyone, as always, we have links and more information in the show notes for all of our items. And we do want to hear from you. And I just mentioned this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can
let
text the show.
Yeah, text the show.
Yeah, share your thoughts with us. Jim loves getting feedback, getting little questions, points of insight.
Yeah.
And actually, here's a question for you, dear listeners. If Kirkland launched a new board or commission tailored just for you, what would it focus on? If we were to spin up a new one, which we're not planning on doing, but in the hypothetical,
Yeah, popular culture.
Yeah.
popular culture, sports,
Sports would be part
the
of
sports commission.
Would you apply for that commission,
I
David?
apply for the for the sports commission. That'd be
Or
so
the
fun.
popular
Or
culture.
the popular culture actually would be
Talk
better
movies
for
and
me. Yeah.
Soundtracks.
The
I'm not sure where the public good is on that.
fair point.
I don't know. I gotta think. More.
Yeah, the Kirkland Popular Culture
Yeah.
Commission.
Well, you could do like a policy book group kind of thing.
Just like they just read
Well, you read and
policy
then
stuff and then discuss
Yeah.
policy.
Commission on literature.
I don't know.
And that brings us to our 5 over 5. That would be 5 questions in what is sure to be over 5 minutes. We should call it like 5 and 50. But in either case, welcome, David Lynx.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, we are very excited to have you, and we love the Art Center. We do. Yeah, many reasons. We're going to talk about the Art Center. Now, I know you got a lot of programs coming up. We're going to talk about the programs, but I do want to talk about the Art Center itself because some people may not know about the Art Center.
The Art Center actually has been there since 1962.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow.
And
Yeah, all right.
it's in the historic Peter Kirk building. So it's actually built by Peter Kirk, who
Wow.
Kirkland was named after.
Wow.
Built in 1893.
Wow.
And so, as you can see, part of my job was keeping
You're like a historian.
historian, correct, but keeping the building
Yeah,
up. Yeah,
That building is beautiful and iconic.
Yeah,
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So it's a lot of work on. It's all brick, so it's a lot of
Yeah.
work on keeping it up and keeping it maintained.
So, David, what is your role at the Art Center?
So I am the executive director, which means I do a lot of the deciding around there. So I have 10 employees.
Wow.
I have 40 instructors, and I have hundreds of students.
Wow.
We are a nonprofit, so it's a lot managing nonprofits, which I've been doing most of my life, and so it's a very busy center.
Yeah, and you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can kind of feel it thriving. But how did you come to Kirkland? Like, how did you come to be the executive director of the Art Center?
Well, that's a long story.
Well, let's get going.
So, I actually
We're really interested.
good. I actually grew up around here. I grew up on Mercer Island.
Mercer Island.
Oh,
That's
nice,
right.
okay.
Went to the University of Washington.
Okay, you're a dog.
I'm a dog.
Yeah.
I got my degree in theater.
Oh,
and once
okay.
I got my degree, I was done with theater.
So the degree is what you aspired to.
That's what I aspired to. And so that was the
Well,
end.
that's a great degree.
It is. It is. And it's funny because you ask a lot of students what they're going to do when they get out of college. I had no
idea.
clue.
Oh, I
But-
was right there with you.
Yeah.
I was like,
All right,
It's
so you
a-
get this degree in theater.
Theater. And so then I decided I'd do a 5th year in Asian art, history, and language because
Oh.
I wanted to go teach in Japan.
Okay.
wow.
And
That sounds exciting.
And so my teacher the art history teacher was a gallery director. She asked the class if there's anyone who was interested in helping her in the gallery, and nobody raised their hand. And so I raised my hand and I said,
Out of
I will.
empathy.
Out of empathy. Somebody's got to do this. And I ended up helping her, and within a couple of years, I actually had her job.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So I really loved it. And then I thought, well, I love working in a gallery, working in a museum. And so I went back and got my master's in museum studies.
Wow.
Wow.
So
cool.
You could title your book "An Empathetic Path to Great Things in the Arts."
That's true. That's true.
That's a great story.
Yeah. I look back on it because I kind of fell into it that would I have changed anything and done another career? No, it would always be the same. Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
It's funny how in life you have these opportunities. They may come just by chance. Oftentimes it's centered around, in my opinion, a person, you know, and you take a chance and then boom, a whole new path in your life is opened.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really, I thought museum studies is the one thing I really love because your subject's constantly changing.
Yeah.
So you'll do an exhibit on like English crafts, and then you'll do an exhibit on Japanese woodblock
Oh,
prints.
yeah.
And so you suddenly become an expert for 3 months on whatever subject that is.
Isn't that great?
And then you go on to the next one. Yeah.
Wow.
So you're always changing. Your job's always interesting.
So your first museum position was
At Whitman College.
Whitman College.
So
Tell us about that.
I was the director of the Sheehan Gallery.
Yes.
And so we got temporary exhibits in. They had a collection, which was an Asian art collection.
Yes.
But we would get different exhibits in, and I'd pull them in. So I was there for 5 years. And then I went to the Yakima Valley Museum.
Okay. Whitman to Yakima.
That's correct. Well,
Okay.
I kind of sidetracked for a few months in Seattle. And then
Okay, well, that's allowed.
That's allowed.
That's allowed.
So in Yakima, I took over. They wanted someone to help build the children's area in the museum.
Okay.
cool.
And so I did that.
Nice.
And I was doing my thesis actually on how children learn in museums, so it was perfect for me.
Oh, wow.
What did
so
you
cool.
discover?
I learned that it's better. They like to touch things.
Yeah.
And so my thesis was, do they learn better by touching things or not touching things? And it turned out they learned better by interacting with things and touching things.
But that's kind of a challenge, isn't it? Because when you walk into a museum,
You're not supposed to touch
oh
anything.
my gosh.
Yeah.
You touch something, you're in trouble, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I kind of at the Yakima Valley Museum, I had music playing all the time in the galleries, which usually you go into a museum and it's quiet. But I
It's
had music
true.
playing. I had things for kids to touch in almost every exhibit,
Nice.
and so it was a real comfortable, fun place. And I was there for 18 years.
Wow.
And
Nice.
so I moved up from just running the children's programming up to being the associate director there.
Wow.
And then I also taught part-time at Yakima Valley College, which was just down the street.
What did you teach?
I taught Asian art history, art appreciation, and and I taught web design and photography. So I taught a lot of different
nice.
classes.
Oh, that's fun.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of creative stuff.
Not all at
there.
the same time.
yeah. All in one class.
All in one class.
A lot of creative stuff for a very creative guy.
Yeah. So they asked me to come over at one point to run their gallery.
Yeah.
And so I did that. I left the museum and I came over and ran the Larson Gallery at Yakima Valley
The
College.
Larson Gallery. How long did you do that?
I was there for 11 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Awesome.
And during that time, I actually built a brand new building.
Oh,
So
gosh.
it was
Okay.
really
Yeah.
fun.
There's that.
That was a
There's
big
that.
part of what your task was.
That was my
Wow.
task. And one thing, when I finally finished the building, I had a beautiful brand new office.
Yeah.
And I thought I can just, skate.
This is your thing?
This is my
Oh.
thing. I can just skate.
Yeah.
And then I decided, I need a new project. And I wanted to come back over to where I grew up
Yeah.
in this area. And the job opened at Kirkland Art Center. And so
And lucky us.
And then I got here.
You want to know why you came here, David?
For you.
That.
Yeah.
You want to know why? Because you're not a skater.
I'm not a skater.
You're not a skater.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I love projects and
Yeah.
I love to be useful.
Yeah.
And so this is a great job for me.
Yeah. You
Well-
bring a lot of creative energy.
Well, what's so great about the arts center is it does have the class component, which it sounds like you were doing some instruction piece, so you have background there, and then of course the gallery space.
Right. We have a wonderful gallery there. We
Yeah.
do have a gallery manager, and so I'm lucky that I've now got someone who kind of
I love that gallery space,
Yeah.
David. You're right. I love it.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's intimate, and I don't know.
it's a lot of fun. It kind of reminds me of almost the Pioneer Square type thing
Yes.
with the brick,
Yeah.
and kind of the
Totally.
old style.
Yeah, it's great. And you could do functional events there. And
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that because I know you have some really cool ideas about that. But the programs at the Art Center are just going gangbusters, like the ceramics.
We are actually well known for our
Ceramics, yeah.
So we're 2 floors, but we have a mezzanine, and so our bottom floor and our mezzanine floor are all ceramics, and then we have an
Wow.
outdoor area we have about 10 kilns.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And so we're known for having very, very hot kilns. So a lot of people who
Are there cold kilns?
there's no cold kilns. Well, just when they're turned
There's
on.
lukewarm.
There's lukewarm.
But
We're really hot.
Yours
that's
yours
good.
are particularly hot.
Ours are particularly hot. So
Okay.
it's interesting there. One thing I learned when I came there is that there's these things called cones, and you put them inside the kiln,
Yeah.
and you can look through like a peephole at the kiln, see
Yeah.
if the cones are melting, and the different ones melt at different temperatures.
Oh, okay.
And
That's
so
clever.
we're known as the cone 10 firing place. So
Oh.
people and that's the hottest it goes.
Wow.
And so there are people who do ceramics all over, and they want to come here to Kirkland Art Center because we can fire really hot.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
It's a cone 10 fire.
Cone 10 fire.
Now
Okay.
we're looking together to try to find more space for you guys, right?
We are. We have a wait list for our ceramics classes.
So, but you don't need to move the kiln to the space.
We don't.
You don't.
No.
Oh, interesting.
We actually have we've been working this past year with Amazon, and we work with have a program called Amazon Expressions.
Yeah.
And
Well, that sounds good. Nice.
we go over to Amazon and we teach now 2 classes a month for their employees.
Oh, cool.
And we've actually gone over there and taught ceramics, and then we just bring their ceramics back to the center and fire them, and then bring them back.
Oh,
to them later
cool.
on.
Oh, wow.
Gosh, I would I would feel so like nervous driving. That's back.
Actually, that's true.
I mean, I don't.
That's true.
I mean, props to the drivers.
I do Amazon expressions all the time.
You do. I'm sure you do.
Express how much money I can
That's
spend.
true. That's true.
So that's a great program.
It is.
Wow.
What's the coolest? Another bad question, but I can't help myself.
That's okay.
What's kind of like the coolest ceramic piece of art you've seen in the Art Center?
Do you know last summer we had a teacher there called Tip Toland.
Tip Toland.
And she had a class of probably 12 students, and it was sold out immediately.
Oh, wow.
But she does busts of people's heads.
Yeah.
And so all these people were working on
That sounds very
heads.
august.
It is. It is. And so, but it's funny to see her, because her work is in all kinds of museums everywhere. And it's not the normal bust like you'd see, like a Grecian bust, but it's usually someone with a very odd expression on their face.
Interesting. I'm intrigued now.
So you know her work when you see it because it's usually a very strange expression on the face.
Fascinating.
Did you ever think of doing a showing on her work?
We have, and we thought that at one point her class would bring back all the pieces that they finished in her class,
nice,
and we would just do a show.
Oh, you got
of
to do
those
that.
work. Yeah,
That would be great. We'll promote it on the podcast.
That would be wonderful. Yeah.
We'll do that for you.
Thank you so much.
So, David, we got to talk more about the about the wonderful Art Center. But first, could you tell us something that you really particularly love about the city?
You know, growing up on Mercer Island,
Yeah.
I was in Lake Washington all the time. And so
sure.
I mean, it's funny, but I talk about people who talk about swimming in Lake Washington. We were always swimming in Lake Washington.
Yeah.
And so when I go down to the waterfront in Kirkland, it always brings back that memory of being in Lake Washington.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's funny, the first time I went to Scotland and I went to Loch Lomond, because everyone heard of Loch Lomond, I had to put my hand in it. So I thought, okay, now I've touched Loch Lomond. And so that's the first thing I did when I came back
here?
to Kirkland,
Yeah.
is I went down to the waterfront and put my hand in it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's
So-
great.
So kind of reconnecting with my childhood.
Yeah. Water is so much part of our city's identity.
Yeah.
And it's great. And the way we've preserved the beaches, the councils in years past,
Yeah.
it's just amazing.
And just walking around the waterfront and around downtown to
Yeah.
all the restaurants and stores there, it's really fun.
And there are paths people might not realize where you can walk right along the water.
Yeah, totally. You can get quite far.
You can get quite far. Have you done that yet?
I haven't gotten that far.
All right, well, maybe we'll go for a walk.
I love the Kirkland corridor,
Yeah.
though, and I live right near it, so I love to go walking on the Kirkland corridor.
Yeah, that's another iconic action of the city to create a space for people for generations to come. Yeah, it's part of our history, our identity. So, David, tell us about some great events coming up at the Arts Center. Like, people now know all about the Arts Center.
Right.
I assume, I'm sure you're going to get a flood of This Week in Kirkland podcast listeners showing up at your door.
That's right. We have one thing about the gallery space that you were talking about earlier is we have free workshops in there a lot. We have movie nights.
You have a movie night?
And so, and often we showed The Mummy one night, and we got,
What a great thing to show at the Art Center for somebody who
that's true.
Did you ever show Night at the Museum?
With mummies.
Yeah, Night at the Museum.
Did you ever see Night at the Museum?
Yes.
Come on, those are great.
Actually, when I was at Yakima Valley Museum, we actually closed the museum so all the staff could go watch
Night at the Museum
together.
Can we like co-sponsor a Night at the Museum night at the Kirkland Arts Center?
I think that would be
That would be fun. I'm sorry. Back to you.
Well, one thing we've been doing is we've been trying to have a talk that goes along with the movie. So we had Alex Surratt, who actually designed the Mummy.
Oh, he's wonderful.
Yeah, he designed the Mummy, and he came for the film, and so he came.
He designed the Mummy in the film?
in the film, and so he came
Wow.
and talked about how he went through that process, and then we watched the movie.
Where was my invitation?
You're always invited.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Yeah,
Alex is amazing. He is such a
He
talent. He
is.
worked for Industrial Light
Correct.
and Magic,
He
right?
did. Yeah.
Oh, I've heard of them.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah,
They're pretty good.
Quite known.
Well, that's
yeah.
great. So you
Yeah.
even have a movie night there.
Yeah, so we have a movie night, and then people come. We tried had a talk to go along with it. There's someone that worked on the movie or someone that knows about the
Yeah.
movie, and so I've had like extra parts in movies. So I thought, well,
Have you really?
Yeah.
What's the biggest one?
There's actually there was a made-for-TV movie that was made at the University of Washington way before Boys in the Boat was
yeah.
done.
Oh, right.
wow.
And it was called An Innocent Love with Melissa Sue Anderson, and I played an extra in that movie. So, but you have to like really squint to see me.
Well, I hear you got
Way
good
in the
reviews for
back.
that.
I got good reviews, so I thought I could come and talk about all my extra work.
Well, we love that.
Hang on. Earlier you said that your theater degree ended when you got the piece of paper.
It's true.
I
No.
mean,
You're right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's I guess.
Apparently.
Apparently, I have had a continuing theater.
Putting that University of Washington education to use at the University of Washington
Ooh, I
in
like
a film.
There you go.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
Just
Okay.
bringing it
Full
back in a
circle.
bow
Full
for you.
circle.
man.
Okay.
Yeah.
There
All
you
right.
go. Yeah, no speaking parts.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
they're coming.
Fair enough. Okay.
They're coming. All right. So you, what else you got coming?
Well, we have on May 4th, which is Star Wars Day.
Mm-hmm.
May 4th, we have a fundraising event called Avant Garden. This
Oh,
will be
yeah.
our second year of doing Avant Garden. We are doing it at the Woodmark Hotel.
Oh, fun.
And what's fun about Avant Garden is it's an auction primarily of art. So if you want to get stocked up on new art for your home,
Yeah.
come to the auction. Because last year we had about 80 works of art.
Last year was
Wow.
amazing.
Yes, thank you.
And you did it at the UW, right?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
It was
We did.
beautiful, but it did rain.
It did rain.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, and then we had to also deal with 520 people.
Yeah, yeah.
520.
Oh, right.
So we thought this time we'll have it in Kirkland.
Yeah.
And we got a really good deal. Woodmark's been a really good partner in
Yeah.
this. And so we're going to have our event there. There'll be music. And
Oh,
it'll
there'll be
more
music,
like,
good.
it's more like a kind of like a garden party rather than a sit down type
Oh,
thing.
fun. That's
The
cool.
aesthetic of the Avant Garden event last year was beautiful.
Thank you.
It was food, and you had this wonderful step and repeat machine, like picture photo machine.
Yes. That's
Where
It was
where
like there was some little robot in there making everybody look good.
Nice.
Because every photo looked amazing. I mean, people looked amazing anyway.
That's right.
Okay, so Avant Garden is coming up, and that's a great event. What else you got? What else you got coming up?
One thing we're working on, and Jim knows this very well, but we're working on a Fringe Festival.
Yes.
Which will be October 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what a Fringe Festival is, they were started in Edinburgh, Scotland. And I've been there 2 times now. Once by accident. I always do things by accident.
So
for some reason.
you were accidentally
I was accidentally in Edinburgh, and there was a Fringe Festival going on.
So you weren't
okay.
accidentally at the Fringe Festival. You were accidentally in Edinburgh.
Well, it was the other way around. I went to Edinburgh on purpose,
Yeah.
but there I fell into the
fell into the
fell
Fringe.
into the Fringe,
and then the rest is history.
I loved it, and then the next year I went back just for the Fringe.
Wow.
And the Fringe Festival
Yeah.
really started because there was kind of a highbrow theatrical event that was happening.
That's
there.
my crowd.
High culture.
Yeah, that's my crowd.
And there was a group of people that couldn't get into the high culture group.
Yeah.
So they started their own thing on the Fringe.
Oh, I love that.
And so now the Fringe is the biggest festival in Scotland.
Wow.
And
Really
there
great
are
story.
you go during the day, you kind of walk around and people are trying to get you to go to their show at night, so they hand you tickets and
Oh
things
my
like
gosh.
that.
Okay.
And then there's probably 80 venues to go to at night with comedy, theater, music, and spoken word,
Wow.
and dance. And so, and it's supposed to be a little edgy, and so it's really fun. You can maybe hit 3 things in a night.
Oh,
Sometimes they're in a bar. Sometimes they're in the back of a nail salon. They have these venues everywhere.
On the fringes.
On the
Yeah.
fringes.
It's very
Cool.
eclectic.
It's very
Yes.
eclectic, and so I thought it'd be really great to have one here in Kirkland.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so we're starting out small. We're not going to have 80.
No, we
venues.
got to do small, David.
We got to do small, but we're going to start it here and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Wow. So if someone's interested or like, I mean, how are you recruiting? Or
Well,
what's the-
one of the things we're looking for volunteers, because we'll have to have
great. Okay.
volunteers at all the events. We'll have during the day have a visual arts fair, and then the evening have performances. And so
Cool.
we'll be looking for volunteers and spaces, of course.
Yeah.
We have up on our KirklandArtsCenter.org website, there is a page about the Fringe. And
We'll
so
put that in the show notes.
Yeah,
people can
fantastic.
contact me.
Yeah,
through
that would be great. And we're going to have a lot of fun with that. So, David, any other programmatic things coming up at the Art Center?
Well, I'm teaching a class called Blind Finger Painting.
Blind finger
That's
painting.
correct. And so it's actually a meditation class.
Wow.
But the students end up wearing blindfolds and, of course, smocks so they don't cover themselves with paint, and they blind finger paint. So
Wow, that's interesting.
It's going to be really fun.
So, what direction do you give them?
So I tell them where the colors are. And so
Generally,
and
here's the location.
general location, and then I also make sure that they're not painting on each other's colors paintings.
Right.
So they learn the meditation, and then they learn what the colors are, and then they enjoy it. It's funny. I've done it before, and at one point I asked them to take their blindfolds off and see what they made, and no one wants to take them off. They're having so much fun.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Of course, you know what I would do.
You paint someone else.
I would scratch my nose.
You probably
I would
would.
scratch my nose. Do you ever have anyone like painting something like a boat or literal, or is it mostly the expression of how you're feeling?
It's mostly smearing. Yeah, smearing and smudging.
Wow,
yeah.
that sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think that they could start out trying to paint something, but would never
then they
end
just
it.
get right into
They just get into it.
the feeling of it.
That's right.
Well, that sounds like great. That's big fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, David, we have a few more questions, but one last question in this segment.
Mm-hmm.
You talked a little bit about the building. The building is quite iconic. Tell us a little bit more about the Art Center building.
Well, it was built, of course, by Peter Kirk, and originally when he was here, and why Kirkland's named Kirkland. And the one benefit I have is I'm in Peter Kirk's old office.
Are you really?
I am. It's really great, and it has a little Victorian turret window. Which is really
it's
fun
that
to see.
building.
Yeah, right there.
up
And
on
so,
Market. Yeah.
it's of course
What's
an
in the
old
turret?
building. Besides me.
Oh, is that what your office is?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Actually,
Sorry about that.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm literally in the. No.
I'm literally in the turret as we speak.
Yeah.
The turret is actually just like a little kind of circular chair. You can go sit in. There's nothing much.
It's not that
really
big.
there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun to sit when you're visiting.
That's
with
where you
somebody.
contemplate.
That's where I contemplate.
Strategic thinking.
That's
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Wow,
Where's
but
David? Well,
He's in the turret.
He's in
He's in the turret contemplating.
Yes.
I mean, there's some gravitas in an office like that.
It is.
you
There
know?
is.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
historical and
Yeah,
wow.
I feel very honored to be in that.
Yeah,
and
that's-
it's actually a very cozy space. And so when people want to have meetings, they come to my office to meet.
Yeah. It's interesting because as the executive director, I got to think part of your responsibility is stewardship of the building,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Oh,
and so it's since I've been there now, I've been there a year and a couple months.
Yeah.
I've repaired quite a
Have
few
you repaired
things,
a lot?
including the HVAC system.
Yeah,
and
oh
things
my
like
goodness.
that. But we did receive a grant from For Culture this year.
Oh, good.
To add a handicap ramp to the gallery.
Oh, excellent.
So we're going to be
That's
adding
amazing.
more handicap accessible. As you can tell, a building from 1893 is
Yeah.
not
No.
necessarily handicap
No.
accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's great work.
Yeah,
Thank you for
thanks.
doing that. Okay, David, because you are a special guest, we've created a special game for you. We're calling it the Museum Hall of Fame. Are you ready to play the Museum Hall of Fame?
I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. What's the scariest museum you've ever visited?
The scariest museum would actually have to be my family actually had farms all around the Battle of Antietam in Maryland, and
Oh wow.
and I'm distantly by marriage related to the Pryes, which had this house on the site of the Battle of Antietam, and the Pry House has now become a field house Civil War museum.
The Pry House.
Yeah.
P-R-Y.
PRY. And so it's a field hospital, and so when you go in there, you get to see all the gruesome
Oh my gosh.
instruments they used
Ooh.
during the Civil War.
Oof.
But one thing that's fun is that Lincoln did go and visit soldiers there, so
Yeah.
that was really fun to see that.
Wow.
Okay, so the Pry House.
That's
Yeah.
definitely scary.
What's
Yes.
the weirdest museum you've ever visited?
The weirdest museum has to be the Zach Baggins Haunted Mansion in Las Vegas.
The
And-
Zach
Baggins.
Baggins.
Now, Zach Baggins, people may know him because he does a lot of those paranormal TV shows
Okay.
where they're always like have flashlights up to their
Yeah.
face and walking through the dark. He ends up collecting a lot of props from movies, but if there's a movie like say about a haunted chair, he tries to go and find the real chair
Oh,
that was
interesting.
haunted, and then he has that in the museum.
Oh, wow.
So it's very strange. And before you enter each room, they say, now, if you're scared, you can stay out here in the hallway. And of course, you're like, no. But he has scary dolls. He
Oh,
has, like,
yeah.
all these, and then he tells the story about why they were scared.
Dolls can be scary.
Can be scary.
Dolls
Yeah.
can be scary.
And then he even has films around showing how people walked into that room and fainted.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought you were
wow.
going to say film about the scenes that the.
Oh, yeah.
the doll, yeah. But I kind of found it amusing.
All right. Well, that's the Zach Baggins.
Yeah, that is weird.
What's the most lavish museum you've ever visited?
Ooh.
The lavish museum, I would say, was actually I went to the Smithsonian American History Museum.
Yeah.
And in the American History Museum are the First Lady's dresses.
Oh,
And
fun.
so you get to see them in this room, kind of against a black background, and it's very like almost the lights are almost like diamond-like, so it's a very stunning space, except that you'll go from Martha Washington up to the present, and the dresses keep, they get smaller, and then you get to, of course, they're very elaborate dresses early on, but then you get up to Nancy Reagan, which is more of a pantsuit.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's not really anything.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
as you know, fashion is one of my passions.
Yes, that's true. So you would love it.
Yeah, we got to work on a big fashion. There are some really great fashion events in Kirkland. All right, maybe we could use them.
You could use the art center.
We'll
That's
write
true.
the Smithsonian, see what
That's
they
right.
say.
Yeah, we could borrow the dresses. Yeah.
What's the museum that is most likely to be haunted?
I think that where I worked before, the Yakima Valley Museum.
Oh, tell us about
was
that.
haunted.
Oh, that was definitive.
Well, we had a hearse there. A horse. We had actually
that'll
over
do it.
40 horse-drawn vehicles in the museum, and one of them was a hearse. And I would literally, when I saw the back doors open, go up and lock it, and then the next day it would be open.
Oh,
so
goodness
that would
gracious.
kind
Now what's happening?
No, thank you.
And then we had a clothing storage unit downstairs, and one day I opened the door and I pulled it open and it pulled back and shut. And I thought, okay, I'm not going in there.
At that point, I'm like, okay, you got it.
You got it.
You got it.
I'll do that
I'm
some
out.
other day.
Yeah.
Thank you
Oh, my
very much. And
goodness.
other people have complained. We had janitors who worked there in the evening who would complain about it.
All right, the Yakima Valley Museum.
Yakima
Wow,
Valley Museum.
okay.
Is it known for being haunted?
It is known for being
Okay.
haunted.
Oh,
And I'm
wow,
not sure
okay.
what is, because it's not a very old building necessarily, but I think it might attach itself to some of the objects. I ended up doing an exhibit on Victorian funeral customs in the museum using the hearse.
Oh,
And
my.
and people were afraid to go into the exhibit.
It's very on point.
It was very important.
It's very on point.
Wow, that's right out of Zach Baggins.
That's right, it was.
Playbook.
Playbook. David Lynx, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We have to have you back.
I would love it.
Yeah.
This was very enlightening.
Very enlightening.
I feel like I have a very boring museum like bucket list or punch list, what have you. Well, anyway, tune in next week for two special guests who will share their heartwarming love story in true Kirkland fashion.
In Valentine's Day's fashion.
Hey.
Yeah. And that does it for this week, everybody. You've been listening to This Week in Kirkland. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And special thanks to Anthony Girardi, Mike Connor, and Kate Ryan for their behind-the-scenes magic.
Thank you.
Our next episode is February 13th. Until then,
Stay connected,
Kirkland.
Kirkland.